Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the world, listening to us via the magic of the internet, created by whom again? We the people, you the people, we the people. We are the ones who made it. Of course, right now, we are not in full control of it because the billionaire class has decided to monopolize on it and take the money out of it that they didn't put into it. Well, that's another story. But before or without any further ado, let's throw it to the geniuses in the studio, El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beba.
Well, I think that Jack should get top billing this morning because I'm just slugging along here on a Monday morning. Got the coffee ready to go. It is Monday, the 17th of February, 2025. Yeah, we're almost a month into the Trump administration, and he's already quoting Napoleon. I'm saying, no laws are broken. What does this tell you, people? What does this tell you? This is insane. The last month has been a total insane, crazy Trojan horse is what they elected. They got Elon Musk, who's going through all the departments, not even an employee of the government, going through all of our sensitive records. Now he wants the keys to the Treasury. Of course he does. All right. Well, Jack, you look like you got a whole page of wisdom here, so I think we should get to that.
Okay. All right. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, Jack. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm good. All right. Australian senator warns America about Trump's fascism. The way you deal with a fascist government is not to actively participate in its economy. Slow down your spending. Put off major purchases like cars and houses. Stop paying the people and institutions that are enslaving you. The citizen who has the courage to just stop paying their health insurance premium and go without health care coverage are the kind of patriots America needs right now. The citizen patriot that will go into their HR department at work, their job, and change their withholding to 0 and 9 to deprive the government of some of their money it collects are the kinds of citizen patriot America needs right now. This is what people power is.
That's right.
People power.
We can say no. No.
Well, remember, Nancy Reagan, just say no. This is what we're going to say. Just say no to Walmart. Say no to Costco. Say no to Amazon. Say no to every darn thing there is. In fact, I think there is a Buy Nothing Day coming up. I think it's the 27th. Somebody told me about this.
I don't know what day it is, but I don't know the date, but I mean, I think it's a good thing to show where the power really lies. I mean, I don't know if you remember during the pandemic when everything came to a freeze, suddenly corporations realized that people are powerful when suddenly nobody was spending. We need to show them that again.
That's right. Here's a little reminder for you. Large corporations, we hold the power of the purse, not you.
Exactly. They serve at our behest. And look, anybody who does anything, service or whatever, I tell folks all the time, right, when we're talking about this program as well. I look and I say, it's yours. I mean, people hate the words collectives and that sort of thing. But the reality is we are all interdependent and we can all harm each other. And we have to decide how best to go forward, whether we live in harmony or whether we harm each other. Trump is from a sect that believe maximal pain is what's good. We believe, we support each other. Look, people could stop listening to Politics Done Right or KPFT tomorrow. And you know what that means? those institutions die. The power always lies within the collective. Nobody's an island and nobody's omnipotent. Not even a $400 billion worth person, because anything can cause any one of his businesses to collapse him into a paupus. Remember that, people. Remember that the ultimate power is with the collective, and the collective is all of us working together. There's no ifs, buts, or whatever about it. But anyway, before I get on my soapbox, anything else you want to add, Brother Howard? Well, let's see. I guess Brother Howard doesn't have anything else to add. So anyway, folks, we have a great show for you today. The title of the show is HISD activist wins, but ... I'll talk about that later. Australian Senator skewers Donald Trump. And of course, the mainstream media tells the truth about red states. And it just shocked me when I heard it. But before we get started, let me go ahead and start with I'm proud of a friend of mine who was able to, let me read the Houston Chronicle story on it. Her name is Sarah Terrell, and it goes as follows. The title is Houston ISD, meaning Houston Independent School District, bans activists from all district property through July 1st following her arrest. What was she arrested for? She was arrested for doing the job that we all need to do, and that is take control of our government, go and protest our government when they're doing things that are wrong or not in the best interests of our children, and that's what she did. And for that, she was arrested. Houston ISD banned an activist grandmother from all of its properties through July 1st after she was arrested at a January board meeting, according to a Thursday letter. The restriction means that activist and HISD grandmother Sarah Terrell is prohibited from attending any district activities, meetings, or picking up students. HISD regrets having, this is from HISD, HISD regrets having to take this action. However, the safety of our school community is our top priority, and we must err on the side of caution when individuals threaten the safety of the learning environment. Read the certified letter signed by District Chief Facilities and Maintenance Operation Officers Alicia Jolivet. Alicia Jolivet should be ashamed of herself. Thus, you are hereby notified that your attempt to enter any HISD building or attend any activity or meeting, you will be considered trespassing and you'll be subject to arrest as described in the official trespass warning below. As it turns out, they're becoming authoritarian. Donald Trump has brought the authoritarian mantra even to our local independent school district, and likely that those of you that are listening to us throughout the country, this is likely coming to you as well. Anyhow, Terrell was dragged out of her chair and arrested at the meeting after repeatedly shouting before board meetings who voted to declare 17 property surplus and authorize the property sale. Remember, she's doing her civic duty. In order to raise money, the HISD, after these bonds have been, after we understood that these bonds should not be passed for HISD, we're saying we are not going to allow you guys, or we should not be allowing HISD to just sell off our very expensive properties to waste your money and waste your the school district's wealth. So she protested. She said, "Why don't you sell Hattie Mae while you're at it?" Terrell said before the measure, referring to the district's headquarters. "You are the most disappointing people." She made two truthful statements. If you're going to sell these things off, why not start by selling the administrative building instead of selling other good assets, she stated, right? That's what she stated. And for that, they gave her a warning. Okay, they gave her a warning. Now, she said it once more after Terrell spoke. HISD Board President Audrey Mamanai, or whatever, however you say it, verbally gave Terrell her first warning, and Terrell immediately responded, Following a second warning, 2 officers, again, real quickly, it was almost staged, picked Terrell up out of her chair, but she sat down and on the floor and declined to get up voluntarily. The officers then began to drag her out of the building. Again, this is a grandmother. This is a person that goes to all these HISD meetings to keep an eye on them, briefly carrying her off the ground before pulling her a short distance by her arms. As Terrell stood up and attempted to turn around and to grab her belongings, one of the officers cuffed her, hands behind her back. She walked out of the room voluntarily, but with hands cuffed. Charges were later dropped against her. The Harris County District Attorney's Office confirmed that. I remember this is the activist, very popular activist that we spoke about, both myself and Neil Aquino, who we said we expected that the district attorney would drop the charges because, again, she did nothing wrong. She executed her First Amendment right and her right to protest, something that that school district was doing wrong. Why don't they protest the couple $1 million that the HISD gave to somebody to try to get them to pass a bond? $2 million. But they're protesting a grandmother who I mean, they're arresting a grandmother and preventing her from going to meetings to shut her down. Terrell, speaking over Zoom on Thursday at a Thursday board meeting, said she was not a threat and pointed out the district suspended about 40 Northside High School students who protested a nationwide crackdown on immigration. So you see where this is going. Students protest. You don't get a chance to talk, students. We throw the book at you. You are suspended. You are threatened by activist grandmothers and students, she said in public comment. You penalize us to silence us. We are no threat to you, and we are not silenced. Now I am prohibited from all HISD buildings. I can't attend a play or a lunch at my grandchild's school or attend a public meeting. Terrell had been speaking at board meetings for months regarding the district's interest in selling properties and a policy change allowing revenue from sold properties to go into the district general fund. You see what they're doing? They couldn't raise the money with a bond, so they're going to start looking at different properties that they have and then want to throw it into the general fund. That is like eating yourself. That is like burning your muscles till you're down to the bone, and eventually you have nothing. It was a rightful protest. It was a rightful thing that she did to stop them from doing an irresponsible thing. And for speaking up, she gets banned from schools. More than 300 acres are up for sale. The listed gross acreage of each property indicates on a district web page. The sale of HISD property should be banned, should be stopped. They should live within their means, and they should stop paying the exorbitant salaries directly to the admin and everyone else. Anyway, folks, the telephone number, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is... many times you hear... Sorry about that. I wasn't ready for that. 713-5... Anyway, let's go to Tag. Tag is online. Come on in, Tag.
Good morning, Egberto. I wonder if anybody else saw the spot on 60 Minutes last night about free speech.
Of course, in Germany, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about just a minute. They had talked about J.D. Vance saying the enemy of free speech is within the German society or German government. And it's become, at least the way I see it, is Germany has passed laws that make hate-filled right-wing, white racist talk and violence illegal. So they're actually taking people's laptops and phones and throwing them in jail for perpetuating that right wing, hate speech. And I think it's really important to understand that in the country where that activity was actually initiated back during Hitler, they've decided that they're just not going to put up with that type of stuff. So people that perpetuate that have to go other places, like come here to do it. And our country is actually perpetuating, that hate-filled violence too, not just speech, the violence. And I think it's time that Americans make a stand against that also, like the Germans have. So that's kind of what I wanted to say this morning.
Well,
can't let this happen.
I want to check on your emotion. Let me just say this. Germany lived through what this type of speech can do. There are other things I would love us to tackle, right? Free speech is one thing. Lying speech or speech that damage, I think, should be forbidden. People look at the Constitution and think it is absolute. Well, the Second Amendment allows me to carry as many guns as I want. Really? Does it allow you to have an F-16? Or should you even? I don't care if the Constitution were to say you can have whatever. Aren't we smart enough to understand that we shouldn't have an F-16? Aren't we smart enough to understand that if you lie to people and they believe, give people lies, trusted sources give people lies, and it's believed that you can cause irreparable harm to a country. And as such, we should, in fact, even if the Constitution talks about free speech, maybe it's time for an amendment that says free speech means free, truthful speech. People may say, well, what is the truth? Well, there are various things that are truthful and absolute. It is, there were no death panels in Obamacare, in the Affordable Care Act. There were no death panels. I'm sorry. There were no death panels. Saying that should be illegal since we're talking about policy. Okay? People have made choices. People have elected a buffoon based on lies. Lies matter. Now our international affairs are in shambles. I'm going to talk about health in a little bit and what these lies are going to do to a health system, etc. But I digress. I agree with you wholeheartedly, my dear brother Tag. Free speech. Look, the Constitution isn't. What should I say? There are folks who simply always ask the question: is this constitutional or not? As if guys who lived 200 odd years ago had some special thing within them that made them godly, that everything they written down was absolute. I'm sorry. I think we need to learn we need to better define the limits of a constitution. Finish up for me, Tag.
Well, I think you understand the gist of it, and it's just the violence. If free speech does not include race, held, violent speech, and
exactly
allowing our government to abuse people of color. It's just it should not. Free speech should not include that of and minorities. It's just a terrible thing, and we shouldn't be letting it happen. So. And not only that, but we shouldn't revere the people who are perpetuating this type of hate speech. And
thank you.
And I think he's a great example of why we can't let that happen here. So
thank you, brother.
I appreciate 6 Minutes running that article last night.
Absolutely. 60 Minutes did a good job on that yesterday. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Yeah, I got a couple things, Egberto. Number one, when someone says something hateful, I laugh at them because they're basically raising a flag saying, look at how ignorant I am. I'm appalled that President is going to have Putin maybe visit the United States. If it happens, we should be demonstrating in the streets so the world knows that we don't believe the same way as Trump. And here's my new warped mind conspiracy theory. Trump sees the word Oval Office and thinks oval sounds too much like ovule. So what he's going to do is change. He's got to have the textbooks changed, and the press from now on has to refer to the Oval Office as the Scrotal Office. And the last thing I've got is, because I can't use certain words on the radio to describe Donald Trump, there's a dish people cook at Thanksgiving, and it's a duck tucked into a chicken tucked into a turkey. It's called a turducken. Well, Donald Trump acts like the first four letters of that word.
Thank you, Brother Bruce. You have a wonderful...
I woke up with a warped mind this morning, so I had to get it off. But anyway, thanks a lot.
You have a wonderful day, Bruce. Okay, let's go to Brother Jimmy. Come on in, Jimmy.
Good morning, Egberto. I'm glad you're back on the air.
Oh, I am too. Talk to me, my brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, I don't think you should be discouraging people from buying stuff at Walmart and Costco and all that. That's going to cause people to be laid off, and they'll lose their jobs, and we'll have a big depression. We need to go after the Republican senators and congressmen, go after John Cornyn and Ted Cruz, let them know that we want them to stand up to Trump and have him stop breaking the laws and breaking the Constitution. That's what we need to do. And also, this lady that's protesting at the Houston ISD board meetings, she cannot be allowed to just sit there and yell at people and so forth. She has a certain time to speak, and then let her speak. But she can't just go in there and start yelling and so forth and disrupting the meeting. She was wrong to do that.
Okay, Jimmy, let me just say, first of all, she is and I say this with pleasure. She's a good friend of mine, and what she did wasn't disruptive. What she did was what, when we talk about free speech, is what it's all about. We have for all practical purposes, a communist board. All right. And I shouldn't even use the word communist. I should use a fascist board. That's more like it. That's running the school board. And under the rules that they do to maintain power, they don't give them the appropriate time to speak. They don't listen to. We need, just like, if you are with the founding fathers, in my humble opinion, who, when they were not listened to, they righteously rebelled. That's what she is doing, and I think she has a right to do that. And again, she did it in a very respectable manner in the way she did that for a fraudulent board. And again, when I call the board, the school board, fraudulent, I am not saying that I'm not mincing my words. These people do not represent the humble independent school district at all. This is not who the parents voted for. This is not who the parents want. This is not who the school district wants. This was commandeered by the state government. So my statement to you, my dear brother, is what we have to do to prevent these things from happening is having the back of what I call patriots like Sarah Terrell. We have to have her back. We can't have the back of the plutocracy. We can't have the back of the fascists in this domain. I think we have to have her back. Just like when you are doing your work with with solitary confinement, when you're doing your work, whatever you do, Jimmy, we will have your back. Anything else, my brother?
Yeah, thank you, Egberto. I put out a press release Saturday about solitary confinement in Texas prisons. We're holding people in there way too long, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. The United Nations is saying it should be no more than 15 days. And we do have a bill in the Texas legislature by Representative Terry Meza, House Bill 1409, which will reduce solitary down to 3 days. I'm urging everybody that's listening to this station to call your state rep and ask them to support House Bill 1409, because this solitary confinement is torture. It drives people crazy. They're sitting in their cell for 23 hours a day with nobody to talk to. That should not be happening, and Texas needs to change that. I urge you all to help do that.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Folks, Jimmy is a member of the Houston Peace and Justice Center as well. He's a fighter to get rid of solitary confinement, and he's a fighter for ending paddling, corporal punishment in schools. Again, another strong activist in the Houston area who has what I call national credo. Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Thanks, Egberto. Keep up the good work.
You have a wonderful day. All right, let's go to Brother Harry.
Buenos dias, hermano, el profesor Egberto Willies. It's good. 10 cans of string. So back up. I called Friday to find out what's going on. And Jack told me that the transmitter's down, and I prayed. I told Jack to tell you and Howard I said hello, and that we get KPFT back up and running. And it was good to hear Sandy Wild's voice on Saturday talking about all the technical difficulties are now behind us. So let's hope we keep these things going, because we certainly need peace on earth. I'm glad Howard played that with Paul Harcastle. We need that desperately, because we have chaos in this country with this chaos president. And I had a very heated discussion with my friend from Florida and his brother. His brother, I wish he would listen to his brother and his sister, because they're both anti-Trump. And I keep telling him to call you back so he can teach you some things.
Let me just say something, Harry. I want you to do me a favor. Harry, I want you to do me a favor, because your friend, your MAGA friend, I actually like the guy. I'd like you to have him call again to discuss.
I've been pushing him to do that.
No, but let me tell you what I want you to tell him. He need to call me back so we can specifically discuss Medicaid, Medicare, and how it will affect him for his vote. Tell him to give me a call sometime.
That was one of the things I was going to mention. And I agree with Tag before I get back to what I was talking about. Tag is right with that 60 minutes in Germany, but that stuff's been happening in this country. And what we're going to have is a constitutional amendment so that hate speech can't be harming people. I'm glad Germany's doing that. But my friend, his brother, he was on the line. He was telling me that his FDIC government job, because all these government firings that Trump and Elon Musk are trying to do, he's worried about that, his job going away, and he's worried about his Medicaid going away. And then all my friend from Florida could say, when I was on the line with him and his brother, all he could say to me was, "You're looking for a handout." And I said, "Do you realize right now, Neil, that they are trying to go through the Senate?" Lindsey Graham said the other day, they want to pass Act 2, Round 2 of the Donald Trump job tax cuts.
Okay.
And then the other thing he told me, he said, Joe Biden, when he left office, he left the United States $1 trillion in debt. I said, look, that's a drop in the bucket, and deregulation started that. Also, Donald Trump, when he left office the first time, put us $8 trillion in debt.
Right. There's no right. Okay, got to go. I need to talk about some other stuff, Harry, but you're right. And let me just say that Donald Trump ran the deficit way up more so than Biden did. There's no comparison there. Thank you, my brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Look, folks, I want to piggyback on something that Harry said, because anytime I hear about handouts, you have to understand there's a certain connotation when you hear handouts. That is to get into the visceral. First of all, the technique that's used to hurt government or to shrink government is a magical technique. The first thing it does is it uses racism in a false way. They make most Americans sit back and believe like those others are sitting down waiting for a handout. Those others, people that have that melanin, people that have that stuff, they're waiting for handouts. What that does to, and I kind of alluded to this at a speech I gave to a group out here in Kingwood. What that kind of does is it gives a delineation in people's psyche that, Those other people are trying to take stuff, and in taking stuff, they're harming us, not realizing that we should all be considered us, right? But the lie is this. The lie is most of the people that are getting funded by our collective tax dollars, meaning all the dollars that goes into the treasury, who is it paid out to? Most of it isn't paid out to the others. And we have to stop believing that, because it causes us to harm ourselves. Most tax dollars, most welfare dollars, most social security dollars, most of all these dollars goes to the majority population. It has always been that way. But when those small amount of people in power want to want to take more, they create friction between peoples by making some believe that others are taking advantage of the system. So you attack those others, like when Harry gets a cue, you just want a handout. That immediately has a color attached to it. Implicit. I mean, it's not said. It is implied. It's all what Atwater, former Republican leadership, Atwater wants you to believe. They don't say that. They don't say it out loud, just like I'm not saying it out loud right now. But you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. That's the magic of hate. That's the magic of how it works. But all of you listening to me here right now, I don't care who you are, what you look like. We are in the same boat. There are very, very few on top that are the puppeteers to ensure that they get most. So in effect, when they want to cut the budget, when Elon is cutting the budget and he has all these working class people telling him, hey, yeah, we want it. This overgrown budget, this overgrown government, this government that's wasteful and all of that. And by the way, folks, in as much as the government does waste, that waste is productive. When the government wastes money, it goes into the economy and it circulates and it generates more economy. That part they don't tell you. You see, all those people that are being laid off in Washington, D.C., in Austin, Texas, in Nacogdoches, Texas, that work for the government, you see all those people being laid off? They're going to say, oh, great, that'll reduce my taxes. No, it's not going to reduce your taxes. It'll reduce Elon Musk's taxes, not yours, because you may get a fractional tax break, and that tax break will then be spent into the higher costs that, since Medicare and Medicaid is not subsidizing your hospitals anymore or your doctors anymore, you'll pay more for your doctor's fees. So it's not like if government gets a little bit more efficient, that efficiency is going to come into your pockets. That's not how it works. That's how they want you to think it works. Even wasteful government is productive. Wow, what a thing. And let me explain to you in English. Let's say we have a government worker making $60,000, or let's say we have 100 government workers making $60,000. But we really only needed 80. So let's say the waste is 20%. By the way, waste isn't that much, but let's say it's 20%. But what happens with that $60,000? There's a good chance that extra 20 people may not be hired around the economy, but they're hired now. And that $60,000 go in to buy products from Amazon, from Walmart, from the street vendor, and all these things. And those street vendors have to buy more from other people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a jobs program. And you may say, was that particular job needed? Well, are they sitting down twiddling their fingers, or are they doing something? They're doing something? Okay. What very few understand is that these people, even the ones that are getting laid off that they claim they don't need, get up every day, take a bus, take a train, take a car, buy gas, buy lunch, goes to work, goes to a restaurant that keeps that restaurant with business to make money, to hire other people. And, that's how it works. Now, anytime they talk about efficiency now, Musk wants to lay these people off so that less tax dollars have to go to pay people, and less tax dollars he has to pay into the coffers where he maximizes his money. But wait a minute, let's talk about how he makes his money. He makes his money by all these federal grants for SpaceX, for Starlink, for his electric car subsidies. That's your tax dollars going directly into his coffers. And what's the service he's providing again to have those billions? Oh, wait a minute. All he does is hire managers who hire managers to hire engineers and secretaries and doctors and lawyers in his business. So he sits on top doing absolutely nothing, cutting jobs from other people he claims are doing nothing, which they're not doing nothing. They're actually doing something. They can, but to understand the concept of capitalism and how we work. Look, we believe, those of us that are true left activists, we believe in something called basic income. We understand that everybody plays a part in this economy. Even that person on welfare plays a part in that economy. Because when they get their SNAP or their food stamps or whatever, and they throw that into HEB or Walmart or whatever, they are causing HEB or Walmart or others by their actions to hire more people. And people say, well, but they're doing nothing. Are they really not doing anything? No, actually, when they sit down on their phones and they're scanning on their phones and they're looking up things and studying or whatever, or writing posts, guess what? They're also working. What are they doing? They're feeding AI. They are adding to the knowledge base of AI. What I try to tell folks is this. Look, some of us work a lot more than others. Granted, look, I work at least 16 hours a day with this work that I do and all the other stuff that I do. That's a choice. That's a choice. I'm not rewarded well for that. Howard bust his butt at KPFT, doing a whole lot of work, keeping the transmitter going, keeping all these things going. He gets a good salary, not near what he could get if he went and worked for one of the big radio stations or whatever, but this is one of his passions. Jack goes ahead and he comes down here and he does a whole lot of work, mostly out of the passion he has for this. It's not paid what other people could be paid at another radio station, etc., but it's what he wants to do. But they provide a service to society. That person, that every one of those that Elon Musk have laid off, and I need to stop that Trump has laid off cowardly through Elon Musk. They serve the purpose. We have to change our mentality. Some of us genuinely want to work. Some of us work hard and not necessarily getting compensated where others would work as hard, but that's what we want to do. And we do it. But don't dare disparage that person. Most people, the vast majority of people, do some kind of work. They may not have the ambition that you have. They may not have the ambition that I have, but they are a valuable part of society. And I'm not saying that to be nice. I'm saying that that's just the way it is. But that's how we are taught not to see things. That's how I was taught. That's how I used to look at things. I would look at a welfare recipient and like, man, I've worked. I came to this country. I swept floors. I washed dishes. When I was in school, I drove cars. I delivered pizzas. All this stuff. I could always find me a job and do something, right? But does that mean that somebody that doesn't have that drive is somehow not worthy. And then some of us who have that mentality have the nerve to call ourselves Christians, which is not what Jesus ever preached, or Muhammad for that matter, or whoever you want to call. We have got to change our frame, people, because that is what allows Musk and the evil capitalists to do what they do to us, move us directly into indentured servitude. And I know it's hard. A lot of you are with your suit and your tie on, and you think what I'm talking is just a left-wing somebody talking a whole lot of crap. No, brother, I've been in the capitalist system. I have products that I created, designed, etc. So this isn't some bleeding heart person that doesn't want to work. Hell, I'm still working 16 hours a day. Not getting paid for that kind of work, but still doing it. Because this is the kind of stuff we should know, and this is the kind of compassion we should have. It's sad, but sorry for that little rant there, but I just got hit when I heard Harry talk about his friend telling him he just wants a handout. That's a slur that's always used, on many. Look, I understand there are lazy people out there. I understand there are people that don't have as much drive, but that doesn't make them less of a human, or that doesn't mean they shouldn't have that society, what we call a society, shouldn't have a way to survive. Is that the same Bruce calling in? Come on in, Bruce, before I play my video real quickly. Come on in, Bruce.
Yeah, this would be real quick. One thing you didn't mention, but I'm sure you know, is when a lot of people are laid off, these companies and corporations, most of which are Republican run, now have a labor pool to where they can hire the labor back cheaper. They can say, well, if you don't want to do it for this price, there's other people laid off that will. So they don't mind unemployment being high because they got a big pool of people that'll work for cheaper. I'm done by.
What, Bruce, don't leave yet. Why do I have so many damn smart people calling and talking on this program? I want to add to that. Notice. Go ahead.
I think you're one of the first people to ever call me smart, but go ahead.
Well, that's because you are. Anyway, let me just say this, folks. Hey, let me just say there's an industry here that tries to make people believe that they're not as smart as they are, and additionally try to have them neglect their ability to critically think. That's why they came out against critical thinking, critical race theory, They don't want anybody to look at things critically. But anyhow, when it comes to unemployment that you spoke about, remember that discussion that Elizabeth Warren had with Powell. When to bring inflation down, Powell wanted to get unemployment up, and he wrote it in a paper. And that's exactly how she hit back. She hit back and she said, you are telling me that you want to see unemployment unemployment up in order for inflation to be down. And, she went on a rant, and that is something that we have to understand. Capitalism wants a certain level of unemployment, a certain level of people saying the following: I need a job, and therefore I can't ask for what I am really worth. If there is a high level of unemployment, then we have carte blanche in the way we can pick from the employment pool. People have to get it. It's all a scam. Thank you very much, Bruce. You have a wonderful rest of your day. All right, folks, I want you to hear our Australian people. Donald Trump liked to talk about us being strong overseas. I want you to hear this Australian senator. MAGA loves to brag about how great Donald Trump is overseas, that people fear him and they respect him, etc. I'm going to tell you the truth. Do they fear him? They don't fear him as a person. They fear his irrationality and what he's likely to do, given that he has a Republican Party that is spineless, that is devoid of any type of a soul, So they don't fear him as being strong. They fear him as being weak, as most bullies are. and that he will act irrationally and take things, and do things wrong. But anyhow, MAGA loves to brag about how he's respected. Being respected and being feared is completely different. And being feared, there's nothing to be proud of if people are following you out of fear, because eventually what happens is, as the fear subsides, you pay the penalty. But anyhow, Senator Nick McKim, Australian senator, had some choice words for Donald Trump, some choice words as what he represents, and that the fascists that we are becoming here in the United States. I want you to listen to this and then we'll take it on the other side.
Around the world, people are reacting to Donald Trump in his first few weeks in office. Here's one reaction from an Australian senator and member of the Australian Greens Party. His name is Nick McKim, and he issued something of a warning. Let's listen.
The United States is sliding into fascism under Donald Trump, and it is marginalised communities who are going to pay the price. Black-skinned and brown-skinned people, migrants in the US, women in the US, transgender and queer folks in the US. They're going to be persecuted and they're going to be demonised, blamed for all the problems of the day. And you know what else is going to pay the price? Nature is going to pay the price under his drill baby drill policies of destroying nature. Climate is going to pay the price, as we're already seeing a withdrawal from global climate action. President Trump is a disaster for humanity. He belongs behind bars, not in the Oval Office.
Again, the rest of the world can see it. Over 50% of Americans can see it. Unfortunately, the 49% that voted for Donald Trump continues to be snowed by him, but it is something we're working on. And I think it is something that ultimately will have success when people come to grasp of what this incompetent felon is actually doing. And I say that I was actually kind of kind. He's more than just an incompetent felon. Anyway, folks, let's see. I have another video, but I won't be able to get to it because of the length of time that it's going to take. But let me just say that you can always find the other videos at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, where we have this all laid out. Come on in, Brian. Brian, you're on. Brian?
Could this be the only time Brian is speechless?
I can't believe Brian. Maybe his mute is on. I don't know.
Yes,
all right, I get.
Brian is speechless today.
Anyway,
poor Brian.
Well, let's go ahead and get Bard. I think that's Bard. And come on in, Bard. Bard, you're on.
But there's so many fairy tales this morning that I had to call in and try to dispute some of these socialist fairy tale government propaganda BS. As far as Elon Musk goes, okay, there's 2 astronauts stranded on some international space station somewhere. And for some reason, NASA's not going to rescue them, but Elon Musk's SpaceX is going to rescue them.
Okay, that's your. I can explain it perfectly. That's because that is because we left we sillily, instead of having ourselves run the NASA program the way we ran the Apollo program, we put it all in the hands of these private sector thieves. So Boeing could, after spending billions of dollars, a private company screwed up, stole, I don't say stole our money, but misused our money, mismanaged our money, the private sector, and couldn't go ahead and get the astronauts down because, again, we relegated it to the private sector. Elon Musk, who is supposed to be the baby genius himself, had so many mishaps. Instead of being there for another month when we could have rescued them, they stayed there months after. So, Bart, I think you've done a good job in proving my point. Next subject.
Yeah, we don't care as Texans number one and Americans number two what Australia thinks, Canada thinks, Venezuela thinks. This is America first. Get out there, get a job, get off of welfare, because Trump's cutting welfare.
But you're on welfare.
Sitting around, listening to the radio all day.
But wait a minute, wait. You are on welfare listening to the radio. Hey, hold on. You are on welfare.
Snapchat is not a job.
Hey, you are on welfare. You are on welfare. So what are you talking about? No, you work. Welfare people work for a living too. You are on welfare.
No, they don't.
Okay, you are on welfare too, sir. I don't know. I know you haven't realized it, but you're a welfare king yourself. Let's go to Anthony, and I can explain it the next time you call. Anthony, come on in.
Yeah, I like the part that you played about the senator from Australia. He pretty much hit the nail on the head. But the point I want to make is, I don't want this to sound creepy, but I met this guy in New Zealand on Twitter. Super nice guy. He obviously knew a lot about U.S. politics than I. So we're texting back and forth, and I said, you seem to know a lot about what's going on in the United States. Why does this interest you? And he kind of opened up my eyes. He goes, I don't think you realize. He goes, people from all over the world are watching the United States, and we're concerned about what's going on in the United States. And this was when Trump ran the first time, okay? And so I never really, and I was in the Marine Corps and I served overseas, but of course, politics back in the 70s when I was in at the tail end of Vietnam wasn't the same politics we have now. But literally, people all over the world are worried about the direction that the United States is going and the way our politics are going so far to the right. So people are worried. People, not just politicians in the parliaments of these different democracies, but just ordinary people are watching what's going on in the United States, and they're truly worried. So
I am glad that you said that, because here's the deal. The truth of the matter is that is something that I say on this program all of the times, that yes, in fact, people are worried. I am from Panama originally, and everybody knows American history. In fact, most people around the world know more about American history than many Americans. It's amazing, because you have to. It is a super. Yeah, it is a superpower, and it is. I mean, we are in our nascent, or what Richard Wolff would call end state capitalism, which means end state U.S. as an empire, etc. But yes, the rest of the world observe us. Thank you so kindly for your call, Anthony.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and by the way, Nancy sent me a text pointing out that the 24-hour economic blackout that Howard was talking about. Is February 28th. February 28th. All right, let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks for putting me back in. I want to go back to a subject you and I were talking about on Thursday when you said mathematics is not propulsion system. How do you understand this? How do you not understand this? Do engineers just scrape up a bunch of stuff? An oxidizer off of the floor and shove it in a vessel somewhere and say, yeah, I hope that works? No, it's actually mathematics that does that. Maybe on the first time out it's trial and error that they can't get it right. But mathematics is also memory. What is it that you don't understand about mathematics being a propulsion system?
Oh, Lord. Look, Brian, we're talking past each other. I, as an engineer, I use math to develop things. Okay.
Thank you.
But that thing isn't math. I use math to solve problems. I use differential equations to mimic what the behavior of something is going to be, and then that something gets executed or that something gets done. I told you that propulsion is what puts something in orbit. Period. That stands. I use mathematics to determine how that propulsion is used to get to get escape velocities, etc., etc., etc. It isn't. No, sir.
You just
Sir.
answered the question, didn't you?
All right. Again, like I said, we're talking past each other's. What gets a spaceship out of orbit is propulsion and only propulsion. Anything else, Brian?
No, it's mathematics. It's anti-gravitational pull.
All right. I'm not going back and forth with you, sir. I'm not going to go back and forth with you. But anyhow, thank you, Brian. You have a wonderful day. Anyway, we are at 55 right now. Let's see if Brother Howard have anything to say, and Jack.
Basically, yeah. I'd like to address Bard. Bard, we better care about what the international community thinks of the United States. We had better care because we're all interdependent. It is not just America first. It's going to be America last is what's going to happen. We can't isolate ourselves. We were in isolation during at the beginning of World War II. Then look what happened. So you better think, okay, we are an international community. We better think what they think about us. We better care. We better show ourselves to be stronger than we are. Jack, what you got, man? Jack says nothing, so take it home, Egberto.
I want to build on what you just said, Howard, because what you said is just so important. When I talk about critical thinking, Bard, and I say this with respect, Bard, and I love you, my man, but I'm sorry, your critical thinking skills are severely lacking. Just look at the explanation that Brother Howard just spoke about. We are 4.5% of the population. We import a lot of the things that we need. There is no way we could control the entire world with 4.5% of the population, no matter how many nuclear weapons we have, because we can't nuke the things that we need. Critical thinking says that we have to get along, whether you like it or not. America first is a ridiculous statement. Anyway, folks, I love you all. Thank you so kindly for listening. Thank you so kindly for calling. And please remember that the rest of the program is at politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Support for this show, Politics and Right, comes from politicsandright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make